BBC One, a very special edition of Sport Alert.
Hello and welcome to Sport Alert, the weekly programme focusing on all the goings on in the sporting world.
Hi, I'm Mark.
I'm Orfeas.
I'm Gina.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Jason.
And today we're focusing on Nike and their experience with their celebrity endorsers.
With a brand value of $15 billion, Nike are arguably the largest sports brand in the world. They create products, services and experiences for today's athlete while solving problems for the next generation.
Nike was recently ranked as the world's 31st most valuable brand and 88th in the Fortune 500 with a favourable stockholder ratio.
In spite of many market manoeuvres, Nike has remained the leader in its market category.
Nike are also famous for their celebrity endorsements, with hundreds of celebrities, past and present, endorsing the brand.
In fact, in 2012, they spent 13.5% of their total revenue on this marketing technique alone.
The Nike name comes from the Greek goddess of victory.
Mike, what's found on top of your head?
A Greek Spartan helmet, of course, Orpheus. We're talking about Greece here.
Doesn't look like it. I think that's rather offensive, isn't it?
Anyway, one of the most successful collaborations between any brand and celebrity is that of Nike and Michael Jordan.
I shall be talking about Michael Jordan later.
Yes, Jason, we know. Nike pulled off a very similar coup in the sports industry when it joined forces with golfer Tiger Woods to enter the golf category with its apparel, equipment and accessories. I'll be talking more about Tiger Woods later.
Yes, we know, Chris. We know.
I'll explain more later, guys, but Nike has actually emerged highly successful in golf.
This channel is now being used by many brands around the world and raises some crucial questions about the ways of which brands are built and the impact such collaborations between celebrities and companies have on branding.
Well, more on that later. So Jason, I heard you went somewhere cool a few days ago.
Yes, I did go somewhere cold, Orpheus. We're in Plymouth. I went to a windy Central Park to tell us a little bit about the source credibility theory and how it relates to Nike. Michael Jordan is widely considered to be the best basketball player of all time. He has won 6 National Basketball Association titles with his team, the Chicago Bulls, and averaged 30 points, 6 rebounds. What the Blazers is a rebound? 5 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block per game. Not bad. Almost as many as me. Let's take a look at him in action. So, we can see that the guy has expertise in his game. Michael fits perfectly into the source credibility model because the model states that factors such as experience, knowledge, and know-how make the chosen celebrity's recommendation of a product or brand credible to the advert's target market. The model also states that the celebrity endorser must be perceived by the target market as having honesty, credibility, and integrity. Basically, it is a matter of determining whether the consumer trusts the source for the honest, objective way the information is presented. Nike perfectly represented Michael as having the factors of honesty, credibility, and integrity in the advert that you are about to see. You will notice how the actors react to Michael in the advert with respect. You will also notice how he objectively and honestly states his statistics. In fact, presenting statistics to the audience also illustrates to the target audience that Michael has experience and knowledge, which are other important factors of the model. Let's give it a watch.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
So why is the brand so popular? The shoes represent the best. Michael Jordan is considered the best, just as his shoes are to this very day. Michael even relates to the source attractiveness model. This model states that a celebrity spokesperson's physical attractiveness has a positive effect on brand recall, attitude toward the brand, and purchase intent. Here, the endorser's physical attractiveness is assumed to have an influence on the target's acceptance of the advertising, particularly due to the phenomenon of identification. The effectiveness of the message depends on the endorser's similarity, likableness, and familiarity. Michael is definitely deemed as being likable. In 2010, 1,800 US citizens were asked to rank 198 sports personalities from most liked to least liked. Michael came out on top. But what about sources that were credible but aren't any longer? A week after the USADA banned cyclist Lance Armstrong from cycling for life and stripped him of the titles he earned during his 14-year career, including 7 Tour de France wins, Nike drops him. 14 years of credibility gone in seconds. Nike knew that Armstrong had lost a crucial part of the source credibility model, trustworthiness. There is some criticism for the source credibility and source attractiveness model. McCracken and Adogan stated that limiting the assessment of an individual to certain dimensions may seem rather restrictive. Fleck and Corsia suggested that the models do not properly take into account the multifunctional aspect of certain characteristics of the source, and there is no proof the dimensions examined are the correct ones. Overall, they suggested McCracken's meaning transfer model, which includes all of the cultural connotations of celebrities, is more suitable as it explains the endorsement process as a whole.
Thank you for that, Jason.
So Chris, you went to that golf course to find out more about the meaning transfer model on Tiger Woods.
Yes, Tiger Woods was an interesting example to use as he was the best golfer in the world, so had strong cultural meaning in the golfing industry. Nike had no market share in the industry and used Tiger Woods to infiltrate it. I went to Plymouth Golf Centre to discuss it further.
The meaning transfer model, developed by McCracken in 1989, proposes that brands can leverage the cultural meanings held by celebrities onto their products using a 3-stage process. The first stage involves a celebrity creating their self-image within the public eye, thus linking themselves with a vast array of cultural meaning, such as status, class, and lifestyle type. One example of this is when Tiger Woods burst onto the global golf scene in the late 90s, winning the US Masters in 1997, becoming the youngest man and first African American to do so. Over the next few years, he had even more success, including 4 US PGA titles, 3 US Open wins, 3 Open Championship wins, and 3 US Masters wins. He had soon created an image of a dogged, committed, athletic sportsman who was determined to do whatever it took to succeed. Stage 2 involves a transfer of a perceived celebrity personality onto the product. Brands must distinguish what aspect or meaning of a celebrity personality they wish to have transferred onto themselves, and must then use advertising to imprint the desired personality onto their product or brand. Carrying on with the Tiger Woods theme, Nike cleverly recognised his determined, mentally tough, never say die attitude, and identified that these were qualities they wished to have associated with their brand. They implemented the meaning transfer using the powerful television advertisement narrated by Tiger Woods' father, Earl,
Let's take a look.
You don't really instill anything into a child. You encourage the development of it. But I would do all kinds of things to mess him up. Just as he's beginning to swing, I'd drop my whole bag of clubs. And he would stop. They would look at me and grit his teeth. And then he would stripe it and turn around and look at me. And never say a word, but that look said, "Now take that." It's a tiger, and I promise you that you'll never meet another person as mentally tough as you in your entire life. And he hasn't, and he never will.
The final stage involves the new product characteristics being transferred onto the consumer. McCracken argues that consumers do it themselves via the construction of their own self-image through what he called rituals. Essentially, the consumer looks to enhance their own self or desired self-image by associating him or herself with a product or brand that portrays desirable characteristics. McCracken's model was supported by a study by Lang, Meyer and Walker in 1991, who found that celebrities' meaning could be transferred onto 3 varied products. Brands must be careful, however, as research indicates that the use of multiple celebrity endorsers can result in a brand or product being perceived to have multiple personalities, meaning that consumers struggle to relate to their brand due to these mixed messages. However, Domzol and Kerman argued that the marketing communications process selects specific personality that best fits their brand and therefore maintains a consistent brand image, Nike being a great example of this. Further to this, they must also be careful, as whilst they are taking advantage of celebrities' positive characteristics, if the image of a celebrity changes, for example, with negative press, then this will also be transferred onto the products. This happened recently when Nike decided to suspend Maria Sharapova's sponsorship due to her being found guilty of using prohibited substances, an image they did not want transferred onto their brand. However, after Tiger Woods' various scandals in recent years, Nike still endorsed him, but this can be explained by the source credibility model, as explained earlier by Jason. Although his personal credibility had been drawn into question, his professional credibility still stood. Equally, celebrities may also be wary when agreeing to endorse a product, as it has been found that the perceived cultural meanings or personality of a product can be transferred backwards onto the endorser. One example of this is with Nicole Kidman's endorsement of Etihad Airlines, who had the Association of Professional Flight Attendants claim imposes abusive labour practices on its female employees.
Yep.
Thanks, Chris.
Next up, Orfeas went to Central Park to tell us a bit more about the matchup hypothesis.
So, what's the matchup hypothesis about? Well, it's about the match, obviously, between the celebrity endorser and the product or the consumer. It's considered that the matchup between the product and the celebrity endorser is a chief determinant of the success or otherwise of the endorsement. Now, a number of studies have proposed that the physical attractiveness of the endorser plays a very important part in the success of the endorsement of most products. Congruence between endorser and product has been suggested as being crucial. In other words, the celebrity must be seen as being really relevant to the product, rather than just an actor like me. Some researchers have extended this theory, indicating the importance of a connection between endorser and consumer. Research indicates a link between purchase decisions and consumer self-concept. Thus, as the celebrity endorser approaches the consumer's ideal self-concept, then consumers become more agreeable to the brand and are more likely to make a purchase. We'll now take a look at Roger Federer's deal with Nike. Roger Federer is a tennis player who some people have described as being a GOAT. No, not that. GOAT means greatest of all time. He's won 8 Wimbledon titles, 5 Australian Open titles, 5 US Open titles, and 1 French Open title. He's also an Olympic gold and silver medalist. He's also one of the world's highest paid athletes. So how did he manage that? Well, part of it is due to his agreement with Nike, which produces a Federer branded lineup of apparel. In 2008, they signed a 10-year deal, which apparently earns the star, not me, around $10 million a year. So why might this be? The Federer product line includes a range of mostly sport-oriented clothing, as well as tennis suits. So, consumers can see a clear link between a sports star and sports apparel. But some products in the Federer product line are a bit more formal. Is this a mismatch? It might be at first glance, but apparently Federer is also respected for his style. In fact, the fashion magazine declared him the most stylish man of 2016, so perhaps it is an appropriate match after all. But Federer also supports the theory, linking endorser to consumer. Apart from being a very accomplished athlete, Federer also stands out thanks to his personality. His life is generally low-key, he's never been involved in any scandals, and he also has a history of philanthropy through the Roger Federer Foundation, which he established in 2003. So, it's quite logical that consumers would see Federer as someone expressing their ideal self-concept.
Thanks, Orpheus, for that interesting insight.
You know, guys, celebrity endorsement can also be risky. Gina went to Sport Alert Central Hub to tell us a little bit about the vampire effect. You know, guys, I was a vampire once. It really sucked.
Besides all proven positive effects, celebrity endorsement can also be risky. There are some implications that marketing practitioners should be aware of. As Chris discussed earlier, unwarranted behaviour by the celebrity may transfer undesirable meanings onto your company. Jason mentioned that a celebrity deemed dishonest may make consumers subconsciously wary of your brand. And of course, a major factor that marketers must be aware of is the so-called vampire effect. Evans originally coined the term the vampire effect, which he described as the use of celebrities, if they don't have a distinct and specific relationship to the product they are advertising, tends to produce the vampire effect. They suck the lifeblood of the product dry. The audience remembers the celebrity, but not the product. Essentially, marketers must ensure that the celebrity isn't going to draw attention away from the product. What Evans is implying is that poor congruence between the celebrity and the brand will lead to the vampire effect. Whilst Nike primarily used sporting celebrities as their endorsers, last year they signed fashion model Bella Hadid. Whilst Bella Hadid is not known for her sporting ability, in 2016 she was crowned Model of the Year. It could be argued that for this particular celebrity endorser, Nike used a source attractiveness model rather than a match-up hypothesis. Evans may argue that this is more likely to lead to the vampire effect, as there is possible incongruence between the celebrity and the brand. One of Nike's competitors, Puma, have also famously taken this risk. Ultimately, a sports fashion company, Puma pride themselves on producing the most innovative products for the fastest athletes on the planet. However, some of their endorsers are not famous for their sporting achievements. Puma appear to have chosen a few of their celebrity endorsers due to the source attractiveness model. These celebrities don't necessarily have strong congruence with a sports fashion brand, but they are very influential characters. As researchers have found that using a celebrity who was considered unrelated to the product, the vampire effect was the biggest, Nike and Puma should be aware of the risks of overshadowing their brand. Kavita and Carla Czech used 60 participants with eye-tracking devices and found that a significantly higher risk of creating a vampire effect exists when using an unrelated celebrity than when using a related celebrity or no celebrity at all. However, Erfgen, Zenker and Sattler conducted a series of experiments with a total of almost 5,000 respondents, rather more than Kavita and Carla Czech. They found that although the vampire effect is a real threat, consumers are more likely to be familiar with a product when endorsed by a celebrity. Therefore, whilst marketing practitioners should be aware of the implications of the vampire effect, they should also look at each case individually, weighing up the pros and cons of each.
Thanks, Gina. So you may have noticed, but we are now sitting on a rather snazzy couch. That's because we've come to the final part of our show, Dissecting the Literature. This is the part where we will be discussing the limitations of the research, the managerial applications, and future opportunities. So Jason, why don't you start us off by discussing the source credibility model?
Okay, Mike. So Goldsmith et al. Concluded that a source's credibility influences consumer attitudes towards the products with which the source is associated.
True, but however, didn't the authors also analyse data from a convenience model rather than a simple geographical region? Like, doesn't this mean they can't generalise the findings to any like specific population?
Yeah, that is true, but we shouldn't forget that the 3 studies were conducted by Lord and Petreview in 2009.
Well, those guys concluded that informationally motivated adult consumers, such as ones purchasing a computer, a celebrity endorser's trustworthiness or expertise enhances their confidence for the product, whilst transformationally motivated consumers, such as the ones looking to buy designer jeans, for example, are primarily affected by the attractiveness of the celebrity endorser.
Wow, Jason, you really do like to talk a lot, don't you? Well, anyway, Lord and Petruvia's research has really strong support for the source credibility model, because it actually implies that different parts of it are suited for different kinds of products.
Yeah, I remember reading about this study. The authors noted that the sample sizes were modest and drawn from affluent Western societies, both of which limit the generalisability of the findings.
I have to actually agree with you there, Mike. The authors also said that although they believe that their findings hold merit, the study requires further research. So what about the negatives of the source credibility model? Well, actually, guys, Fleck
and Al actually stated that the source credibility model limits the choice of celebrity endorser to based on the factors of expertise, trustworthiness and attractiveness.
Very true. To add to your point, researchers performing a study in 2013 preferred my meaning transfer model.
Well, they concluded that source attractiveness is only affected for products such as cosmetics where physical attractiveness is important.
Yeah, but I suppose this findings devalue the source credibility model because it implies that the source credibility model has limited applications depending on the product type.
Yes, absolutely, really. However, you know, a big limitation of that study, Gina, is that the 256 student respondents were shown print adverts of watches and juicers, and then they were asked questions. So this might be improper product categories for this particular student sample, and because they have expendable income.
So what do people really think about the source credibility model? Our investigative reporter Mike went out to take a look.
So considering the 2009 sex scandal involving Tiger Woods, did this affect you from purchasing Nike products?
Yes, it did, because he was considered to be a really good role model, but from him, that allegation coming out, it kind of dampened on my opinion on his golfing skills, yeah.
Yes. Nike products?
Yeah, it had a great effect on me to stop buying Nike products.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it did.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So should we talk a bit more about the meaning transfer model, Chris?
Let's go for it. As I mentioned earlier, Langmeyer and Walker's research strongly supports the meaning transfer model. It found that when Madonna and Christy Brinkley endorsed Fairly brand products, a VCR, a towel and jeans, some celebrity personality traits were transferred onto the products.
Whoa, didn't they only have 101 participants? They were all undergraduates and they came from the same institution. Doesn't that reduce the results' generalisability?
Yeah, that's true.
Good
True.
Points.
You know, guys, a study by Campbell and Warren also stated that brands are more likely to acquire the celebrity's negative characteristics than the product, than the positive ones, really. And also...
And this was shown in real life with the Tiger Woods sex scandal when it reached the press, because his portfolio of sponsors lost 2% of their market value in just 15 days.
Also, Campbell and Warren's study, similar to Langmeyer's and Walker's, only a small sample of students, so 80 and 103. Doesn't that reduce the generalisability just a bit again?
Do you have a photographic memory, Mike?
Okay, so would you say, because you see the celebrity wearing a product, has this influenced any purchases you've made at all?
Yeah, I'm actually wearing Calvin Klein underwear at the minute because I saw Justin Bieber wearing some.
Bit too much information, but thank you very much.
Using them.
Yeah, I bought Jordan Airs because of my role model Michael Jordan, because he's my favourite basketball player.
Oh, wow. Great, thank you very much.
Kanye West's Yeezys, I've seen them and it's been endorsed by him, so I kind of went along and just bought his products.
Oh, fair play, fair play. Anywho, I've had enough of the transferring these meetings for one day. Orpheus, let's just hear a bit more on matchup hypothesis.
Yeah, actually, Jason, are you sure you don't want to talk about that model?
Well, if you're offering Orpheus, I mean,
so part of the matchup hypothesis revolves about the critical importance of physical attractiveness of the celebrity endorser.
But physical attractiveness may be subjective, so...
But more importantly, I could have sworn I've seen some researchers, like Baker, Churchill, Carmins, Koenig and Boyd, I think it was. They suggested that this doesn't hold true for all product categories, I'm afraid. So...
Yeah, they suggested that it's only relevant for products related to attractiveness, such as personal care products.
Yeah, I think I've heard something similar, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, these researchers go as far as claiming that there isn't any support for a connection between physical attractiveness of the celebrity and the success of the endorsement.
But guys, I have a little question. Then, if that's true, then why do you never see ugly people in advertisements?
Maybe they don't know enough about marketing theory.
What about congruence between the celebrity endorser and the product?
Well, you know, some research has suggested that as consumers expect congruence between the endorser and the product, more established brands may be more effective for there to have incongruence instead.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason is, Gina, is that it generates...
Surprise!
Okay.
Yeah.
Which will make people pay attention to the campaign and engage with it.
Well, studies have showed that incongruent advertisements are more successful at generating interest and word of mouth, as well as attitude and actual purchase intentions.
Okay.
Yeah, fair point.
However...
Here
we go again. It's been indicated by Lee and Forson that this may not be the case in every instance, and the research has focused mostly on brands which just satisfy the transformational needs so far.
Well, would the results be the same in informational brands? That remains to be seen. But that's a question for another day, or another night even. So anyway, now our investigative reporter Mike is going to go out in the field.
Oh boy.
Okay, so would you say it is important for you to see Roger Federer using Nike products to purchase these products from Nike?
Yeah, I think it is important. It helps me trust the reliability of the brand, and it makes me think it's a quality product if a sportsman like him is willing to use it.
Yes, I would.
Thank you. The endorsement for its money.
No.
Thank you. Yes, I do, because if you're going to take money from a company, especially, you want to make sure that the person's actually using it to make sure when you go and buy it, you've got that credibility, so they're still using it as well.
That's a very good answer. Thank you very much.
So, Tina, would you like to talk to us about your area of expertise, vampires?
Of course I would. Well, one of the main issues surrounding the vampire effect is how little academic research there actually is. I mean, whilst the knowledge of the possibility of creating a vampire effect has been around since at least 1988, there has actually been very few academic research investigating the subject.
Yeah, I think I heard something about EarthGan stating that they're like the first to analyse it, even its existence, and in fact just to moderate it empirically.
Which shows how scant literature there is in the area. I mean, further research is definitely needed.
Yeah.
Well, another issue is also the type of existing research we do have. I mean, whilst EarthGan had nearly 5,000 respondents suggesting high internal validity, the external validity is compromised due to the fact that the data is from lab experiments.
Yep, very true, Gina. Another issue of EarthGan et al.'s study is that the stimuli was solely print advertising and failed to take into account other forms of marketing, such as TV, radio, or digital.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps this is another area for further research, whether EarthGan's results can be replicated using alternative marketing communication tools.
Even though, guys, there is some issues with the study, the findings do empirically support the fact that the vampire effect is a real threat.
Jason, will you be quiet for 1 minute?
Anyway, that's all we have time for today, folks. So tune in next week when we'll be discussing brand equity. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.